Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Farhan Jalis Ahmed from Department of Pharmaceutics, Faculty of Pharmacy, Jamia Hamdard, New Delhi. Today I am going to talk about basic understanding of nanoparticles from paper Novel Drug Delivery System Part 2. Our learning objectives are: what are nanoparticles, what are nanopharmaceuticals, what is the distribution of nanoparticles, what are the factors which affect the distribution of nanoparticles inside the human body, effect of shape on their distribution, classification of nanoparticles, their merits and their demerits. Now first of all, we should understand what are nanoparticles. It is the most fundamental constituent for the manufacturing of a nanosystem. It is much tinier than any daily life bits and pieces and bigger than any atom or simple molecules. Nanoparticles studies under the branch of science nanotechnology, which basically deals with very tiny matter, which is we can say 1/1000th of a meter. Usually the material lie in the size range of 1 to 100 nanometer, and it is considered as nanoparticles. And the same material in the same size range shows different physical, chemical attributes with respect to its own bulk material. They possess lower melting point, they possess very high surface area, different magnetic and optical properties. They also show different mechanical strength. Their mechanical strength sometimes increases much more than steel. Therefore, it attracted a large number of industrial applications in pharma field, in sensors field, in diagnostics, and in electronics and optics. The optical attributes of nanomaterial are considered one of the most fundamental characteristics. For example, the bulk gold, which is in micron size range, it is yellow in color, but it changes its color. But the moment you change the size to 20 nanometer, it becomes wine red. Similarly, silver and platinum, they are usually yellowish gray and black, and when their size change, their color also change. These attributes are used from time immemorial in our history, in the painting of our sculptures, in our paintings, even before the 4th century AD. Now, till the Middle Ages, soluble gold has remained very popular for its curative profile in the epilepsy, in dysentery, in cardiac and sexually transmitted diseases, as well as in malignancies. It is also reported to be used in diagnostics in syphilis. Different agencies, they defined nanotechnology differently on the basis of their size, on the basis of their shape, on the basis of their application. However, the definitions are facing one of the major issues because there is a lot of confusion, hype and disagreement among experts. Now, the different agencies, they are giving different definitions, which are as follows. Nanoparticles broadly classified into following four major categories: nanocrystals, polymeric nanoparticles, lipid nanoparticles, and metallic nanoparticles. This classification, it depends upon what is the main material from which we are deriving the nanoparticles. Nanocrystals are basically the own material, the own medicine, which is converted into nanoparticles by the process of nucleation and crystallization. In nanocrystals, we are not using any excipient, we are not using any stabilizer. They are simple, plain drug molecule, which is when it is crystallized in an anti-solvent environment and converted into small crystals. And the growth of these crystals, we have to arrest by applying various conditions of temperature, pH, and solvent. And by using these techniques, we can arrest the growth of crystals in the nano size range. The advantage of nanocrystals is that it increases the solubility, dissolution, and bioavailability of the drug molecules inside the human body. Similarly, the polymeric nanoparticles, they are basically made of polymers. These polymers can be formed into nano size range by various techniques like emulsifications, reverse emulsification, and these polymer nanoparticles, the drug is either it is coated on the surface or embedded in the matrix. These polymer nanoparticles, the advantage is that you can modulate the release of drug from the particles, you can modulate their dissolution, you can modulate their targetability, you can modulate their different properties. Similarly, the third type of particles, which are lipid nanoparticles, the raw material which we are using, they are lipids. And these lipids, by the process of emulsification, can convert it into nanoparticles. The drug molecules can be embedded or coated inside the lipids bilayer, and then it is converted into nanoparticles. These lipids are supposed to be the most inert substances and most ideal for drug delivery. Similarly, the metallic nanoparticles. Metallic nanoparticles, they are oxides or hydrides or of metals. Metals are reduced by using various reducing agents, they can be chemical reducing agents, they can be reducing agents which are derived from plant material, and these, after reduction, you get the metal nanoparticles. The most popular metallic nanoparticles are gold, silver, platinum. In pharmaceutical field, we are mostly using gold and silver nanoparticles. Gold nanoparticles, they are highly inert in nature, and they are highly, you can change their surface properties. You can attach the drug molecule to the outer surface of the metal. You can encapsulate the drug inside the metallic micelle. You can convert them in the form of micelles or nanoparticles. As we are talking about definitions of nanoparticles, the different agencies defined it as follows. International Organization of Standardization, which is ISO, they defined nanoparticles which are in the size range of a diameter of 1 to 100 nanometer. While American Society of Testing and Materials, which is ASTM, according to them, the particle length should be 1 to 100 nanometer at 2-3 places. While ISO has said that it should be diameter 1 to 100 nanometer, while ASTM is saying that at 2-3 places the dimension should be between 1 to 100 nanometer. Similarly, National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, which is NIOSH, a particle diameter should be in the range of 1 to 100 nanometer, or a spanning range for fiber is about 1 to 100 nanometer. Similarly, Scientific Committee on Consumer Products, SCCP, they have defined nanoparticles as that any particle where minimum one dimension, minimum one side should be lie in the nanoscale range. According to British Standard Institution, BSI, the particles should be in nanoscale range with respect to all the dimensions. Its length, its breadth, its diameter, all the dimensions should be in less than 1 micrometer, in nanometer range. Similarly, the French organization BAUA, the particle should be in nanoscale range with respect to all the dimensions. Now, one of the most referred definition, which is the most I think internationally known, is the understanding and control of matter at dimensions of roughly 1 to 100 nanometers, where unique phenomena enable novel applications of the same material. And this definition is given by US National Nanotechnology Initiatives. However, the suggested definition not only possesses the hurdles to understand the statistics of nanotechnology-based patents, but also for the accurate evaluation of scientific, lawful, ecological, regulatory, and ethical applications. In fact, this definition based on rigid dimensions exclude the number of potential devices and materials claiming under nanotechnology. Now, the major issue on the definitions were arisen because their specific attributes and utility is different. For example, size below 100 nanometer may have pivotal importance in optics, where size range impart a major role on quantum effects, like gold in bulk form shows yellow color, while wine becomes wine red when it is at 20 nanometer size range. This size range may not be crucial for pharmaceutical products with respect to improved solubility, enhanced resolution rate, maximized efficacy, minimized toxicity, dose reduction. These goals can easily be achieved even at different size range, at a higher size range. The scientific databases has filled up with number of examples of better safety, better efficacy, and effective delivery ranging from targeted delivery, gene delivery, oral immunization, oral delivery of proteins, peptides, anti-cancer, antiviral agents through nanoparticle system, where size range is much more than 100 nanometer when it is compared with nude drug administration. The above statement can be further validated by clinically approved commercial existence of nanoformulations with better safety and efficacy. For example, the size range of Abraxane, which is a paclitaxel which is bound to albumin protein, the nanoparticles are in the size range of about 130 nanometer. They are not less than 100 nanometer, but they are above 100 nanometers. But they are equally effective and equally safe. Now, keeping these views in consideration, a more logical, practical, and free from size limitation, a new concept of definition has been proposed. This definition is the design, characterization, production, and application of a structure, devices, and systems by controlled manipulation of size and shape at the nanometer scale, either it is atomic, molecular, or macromolecular scale, that produces a structure, devices, and systems with at least one novel or superior characteristics or property. Now let us understand what are nanopharmaceuticals, how they are different from nanoparticles. When we are talking about nanopharmaceuticals, there are colloidal systems in the size range of 10 to 1000 nanometer. That is means it is 1 micron, which are used extensively in drug delivery. They differ from their bulk counterpart in many fundamental properties owing to an enhanced surface area. Surface area is directly proportional to the number of atoms at surface, which increases drastically upon size reduction, consequently render it more effective, more reactive, as well as affect optical, electrical, chemical and magnetic behavior of the material, which results into alteration in the in vivo fate of the system when compared with the same nude bulk drug. Now we should understand what are the different types of nanoparticles which are available in the market. Nanopharmaceuticals are broadly classified into two major categories. Therapeutic substances itself act as a carrier, like drug nanocrystals, gold crystals, gold particles, silver, iron, zinc nanoparticles. They all come under therapeutic substances where we are not using any other polymer, any other excipient to make the nanoparticles. In this case, the drug itself can be converted into nanoparticle by controlling the size by the process of crystallization or by the process of chemical reaction. The second type of nanopharmaceuticals are where therapeutic materials are entrapped or encapsulated or attached onto a another nanoparticle, which is of polymeric type or lipidic type or dendrimer or any other material which is formed into nano size, which is formed into nanoparticle, and then it is used for entrapping, encapsulating or attaching the drug material to make a nano delivery system. Now, what is the efficacy and safety of these nanoparticles? There are a number of potential drug molecules. However, their clinical viability and efficacy directly depends on their mode of administration. This fact can be further validated by enormous efforts which are put in by hundreds of pharma companies in search of a new innovative drug delivery systems. Since the target-oriented delivery of drugs still remains a challenging issue, for example at the disease site, to target the drug at the disease site is a very big challenge. It is impossible with new drugs and require high dose and prompt dosing, which may result into severe adverse effects. The conceptualization of target-oriented delivery can rectify the lacunas of conventional approaches, and nanoparticles have shown massive future perspective for target or site-specific delivery of drugs, thus a remedy for the failure of conventional therapeutic systems, which may turn into reduced adverse events. Improved efficacy and patient compliance will be enhanced. Now, targeted nanoparticles are under extensive investigation or available for clinical use. Nanotechnology is ready to provide evolutionary and revolutionary products. Some of them can be made available immediately, while some are in pipeline in clinical trials. Now, the most important aspect which is responsible for the higher activity of nanoparticles, it's how nanoparticles can affect the pharmacokinetic and biodistribution of drugs. Pharmacokinetic profile of any drug gives a clear-cut picture how body treat the naked drug or encapsulated drug into the nanoparticles. The pharmacokinetic parameters like maximum plasma drug concentration, Cmax, T-half or half-life, clearance, area under the curve, and mean residence time cumulatively represent the absorption, elimination, and bioavailability of drugs. PK profile of drug helps in designing of dose and dose regimen to achieve the intended therapeutic concentration with minimum adverse reaction. The efficacy and toxicity of drugs is directly related to the concentration at the tissue. It is not feasible to estimate the drug concentration at tissue level. Therefore, in most of the cases, specifically for new drugs, it is established with blood drug concentration. However, sometimes it is important to reveal how the body treats the drug formulation rather than the free drug, since drug formulation may have different biodistribution profile in comparison to free drug. It may accumulate at specific tissues, thus selective accumulation of formulation, consequently greater amount of drug at the target site, and often results into improved efficacy. In contrary, non-selective disposition of drug formulation at non-target site may cause unintended adverse effects. Fortunately and unfortunately, nanoparticles are quite capable of altering both pharmacokinetic and biodistribution profile of drugs. To understand, hydrophilic drug having poor protein binding rapidly cleared out from the body by renal filtration, while hydrophobic drugs show higher protein binding and poor renal clearance hence have to first undergo biotransformation in liver. It means it will be converted into hydrophilic metabolites and excreted via bile or urine. Encapsulation of drug into nanoparticles provides protection to it from metabolizing enzymes of liver, as well as evades renal clearance until released, as the cutoff size for renal clearance is about 5 to 6 nanometer. While the nanoparticles are much greater in size, thus decreased liver metabolism as well as renal excretion of drugs result into blood-drug concentration for extended period of time, consequently more probability of drug accumulation at the target site. Now, when we are talking about nanoparticles where size is important, we should understand how size of the nanoparticles can affect their organ distribution. Size of the nanoparticles imparts a significant role in its organ distribution. Nanoparticles of 100 nanometer size are reported to have prolonged blood circulation and relatively lower uptake by macrophages. Similarly, Liu et al. Studied size-dependent biodistribution of nanoparticles after IV administration. Similar observations reported by Allen's group. They observed 10 to 20 higher tumoral uptake of nanoparticles when the size is 120 nanometer, when it is compared with 170 nanometer of diameter of the same particles. Furthermore, Torchilin et al. Proved that EPR effect cannot be achieved through very small size particles. They did not observe any significant difference in amount of free paclitaxel and paclitaxel loaded micelles with a mean diameter of 10 nanometer. However, greater accumulation at the tumor site was observed when micelles were conjugated with antibodies. It can be concluded that very small particles can pass out through leaky vasculature of tumors. Thus, control over particle size is extremely important for a specific target to a specific area or a specific organ inside the body. If you see this table, in this table we have clearly shown that how these particles are distributed with respect to their size. If you see inside the blood, if the size range is 100 to 200 nanometer, about 60% is detected in the blood. While the same, if particle size is between 50 nanometer to 250 nanometer, only 20% is detected in the blood. So it changes the distribution. Similarly, inside the liver also, the particles which are equal to 100 nanometer, only 20% are accumulated in the liver. While if particles are larger than 250 nanometer, only 25% are detected in the liver. For those particles which are smaller than 50 nanometer, which is smaller than the pore size of liver, fenestrae, then 60% are recovered from the liver. Similarly, in case of a spleen, the particles which are equal to 100 nanometer size range, the uptake by spleen is very less, while the particles of 400 nanometer size range shows 40 to 50% more uptake as compared to smaller particles. Similarly, in case of tumor, if the particle size range is from 100 to 200 nanometer, there is a 4-fold higher tumoral uptake when compared with nanoparticle size range of 300 nanometer or below 50 nanometer. Now, apart from size, we should understand how shape of the nanoparticles affect their organ distribution. The effect of size of nanoparticle biodistribution widely investigated. However, reports on the influence of particle shapes are very scarce. At present, many groups of scientists are actively engaged to reveal the effect of shape on the interaction as well as biodistribution of the nanoparticles. Disher and their colleagues, they have demonstrated that a very high circulation time of worm-shaped nanoparticles in the mouse blood and attributed it to a strong drag force experienced by worm-shaped nanoparticles, thus they do not uptake by macrophages. Likely, large phylomicelles have shown a very high circulation time, about 10 times more when compared with its counterpart spherical micelles or smaller phylomicelles. Similarly, Decuzzi et al. Investigated the spherical beads, quasi-hemispherical, cylindrical, and discoidal shapes with respect to their biodistribution into tumor-bearing mice. Spherical beads were found to accumulate in the non-RES organs and showed more uniform biodistribution. Moreover, discoidal particles accumulated in most of the organs except in liver, while cylindrical particles dominantly distributed in it. Furthermore, Park et al. Studied worm-shaped nanoparticles and reported their tendency to undergo clearance by liver, spleen, and lymph, similar to spherical counterparts. Moreover, they observed greater uptake of worm-shaped particles at the tumor site than spherical ones. Interestingly, mean resistance time was also found more for worm-shaped nanoparticles than as compared to spherical nanoparticles. So conclusively, we can say that worm-shaped particles could be used more effectively for drug delivery and diagnostic purposes for various diseases. Now, another important feature of nanoparticles is their surface charge. To establish the relationship between surface charge of nanoparticles and biodistribution, Levchenko et al. Developed nanoparticle systems of a size range of about 200 nanometer with different surface charges. They demonstrated more vivid uptake of negatively charged particles where zero potential is around -40 millivolt by macrophages. Thus, they are rapidly cleared from the blood when compared to with neutral particles where zero potential is around 10 millivolt. Negatively charged particles also showed more accumulation in the liver, while the positively charged particles behave differently. They form aggregates as a result of interaction between positively charged particles and negatively charged serum proteins. These aggregates are of greater size than its original one and demonstrate transient embolism in the lung capillaries, while dissociated particles dominantly distributed into the liver. That it can be concluded that positively charged particles also undergo rapid blood clearance and showed accumulation in the lung and in the liver. Now, another important property is hydrophilicity or hydrophobicity of the nanoparticles. The immune system of the body is quite capable to identify any foreign particles, opsonize it, and induce their clearance from the body through RES system. Now, nanoparticles also have to undergo through a similar phenomena. However, their clearance largely depends on their hydrophobicity and hydrophilicity. Usually, hydrophilic nanoparticles show prolonged blood circulation since hydrophilic surfaces are relatively less labile to opsonization than hydrophobic surfaces. Thus, greater possibility to deliver drug at target size through hydrophilic particles. A number of researchers demonstrated an improved blood circulation of hydrophobic nanoparticles when they were shielded with a hydrophilic molecule like polyethylene glycol. Since it reduces opsonization, thus phagocyte uptake is also reduces. These particles which are coated by polyethylene glycol, they are also known as stealth particles or invisible particles. Now we will understand what are the merits of polymeric nanoparticles when we are using them as drug delivery carrier. The polymeric nanoparticles, they show greater kinetic stability and rigid morphology. Their advantages over other colloidal counterparts is that they are highly stable, their morphology is stable, and they are far more stable than liposomes, neosomes, microemulsions and nanoemulsions. Their size, shape and surface characteristics, they can be easily modulated. You can change the size by using various techniques, you can change the shape by using different conditions, and you can also change the surface properties either by changing the pH or by changing the surface ligands or by coating the surface with either making it positively charged or negative charge. So you can change the surface attributes, you can change the interaction of these nanoparticles in our body, inside our body, how they are going to interact with proteins, how they are going to interact with different cells. These all properties can be changed. We can also modulate their release profile, which is one of the most important property of a drug delivery system. How your drug is going to be released from your particle is extremely important, because this will also decide for how long drug is going to release inside the body, what is the release rate, and what is the release kinetics. Similarly, you can also modulate their degradation kinetic, you can also change their drug loading capacity. Polymeric nanoparticles, I think they are having the highest drug loading capacity, and they can load very high amount of drug inside their matrix as compared to colloidal particles. And another advantage of these particles is that a large number of polymers are available, from bad degradable to non-bad degradable, from polymers which are positively charged, which are negatively charged, with different capacities, with different characteristics. They are available in the market. So we can develop various types of nanoparticles with wide range of properties. Now, what are the demerits? Because when we are talking about merits, we should also know what are the demerits of our system. First demerit of polymeric nanoparticles is that there is a high chances of particle-particle aggregation, which is because of small size and large surface area. For any matter, when we reduce the size, increase the surface area, surface activity increases and becomes more unstable, so which results in aggregation of these nanoparticles into microparticles. Other problem is that if the properties of the polymer is not properly controlled, it will result in poor drug loading and drug leaching, and when system is given, it shows initial burst release. Why initial burst release? Because the particles, drug particles which are residing on the surface of the nanoparticle, they will immediately be dissolved inside the system and showing the burst release. Burst release, sometimes it advantages when you have to give the loading dose, sometimes it is disadvantageous where you want to control the release in a controlled manner. Then handling of these polymer nanoparticles is difficult because they tend to aggregate in liquid phase, and in dry form they also forms floccules, and they are unstable over a period of time when they are stored for longer period of time. As we have classified nanoparticles into four categories: nanocrystals, polymeric nanoparticles, lipid nanoparticles, and metallic nanoparticles. They can also be classified as organic nanoparticles and inorganic nanoparticles. In organic nanoparticles, we have polymeric nanoparticles, lipidic nanoparticles, and miscellaneous. In inorganic nanoparticles, we have mainly metallic nanoparticles. For example, gold nanoparticles, silver nanoparticles, zinc nanoparticles, and iron nanoparticles. While in polymeric nanoparticles, we have nanospheres, nanocapsules, dendrimers, and polymeric micelles. In case of lipid nanoparticles, we have solid lipid nanoparticles, nanolipid structures, liposomes, nanoemulsions, and SNIDs, which are self-nanoemulsifying drug delivery systems. Under miscellaneous category, we have neosomes, nanocrystals, and nanosuspensions. Now let's talk about polymeric nanoparticles. I think they are the most widely used for drug delivery systems. They are the particular dispersions or solid particles which are lie in the dimension range of 10 to 1000 nanometer, which comprising of polymer molecules or macromolecular assemblies, and the therapeutic moieties are either remains dissolved or dispersed in the polymeric matrix. Moreover, drug may be absorbed or attached by covalent linking into the polymer assemblies. Polymeric nanoparticles can be broadly divided into two on the basis of their structural architecture: nanospheres and nanocapsules. Structural architecture of polymeric nanoparticles depends upon their method of preparation. Nanospheres are homogeneous solid entity consisting of polymeric matrix in which therapeutic moieties are either uniformly dissolved or dispersed, while nanocapsules are hollow core shell structures in which dissolved or dispersed therapeutic moieties into oily aqueous cores are encapsulated by polymeric membranes. Thus, on the basis of nature of core, nanocapsules are of two types: aqueous core and oily core nanocapsules. Polymeric nanoparticles are one of the most widely investigated colloidal categories, which owns the ability to entrap diverse types of therapeutic moieties, therapeutic molecules, distribute preferentially at the intended site, or the ability to release the drugs in a controlled fashion, which results into improved pharmacokinetics and biodistribution, and consequently better safety profile. They are not only appropriate for effective delivery of small synthetic drugs molecules, but also have shown promising future perspective for peptides, proteins, and nucleic acids, thus open the gateway of gene therapy. Mostly these were searched for parenteral administration. However, their importance for improved delivery through other routes like oral, ocular, nasal, pulmonary, and periodontal is undeniable. Now let's talk about polymeric nanoparticles. I think they are the most widely used for drug delivery systems. They are the particular dispersions or solid particles which are lie in the dimension range of 10 to 1000 nanometer, which comprising of polymer molecules or macromolecular assemblies, and the therapeutic moieties are either remains dissolved or dispersed in the polymeric matrix. Moreover, drug may be absorbed or attached by covalent linking into the polymer assemblies. Polymeric nanoparticles can be broadly divided into two on the basis of their structural architecture: nanospheres and nanocapsules. Structural architecture of polymeric nanoparticles depends upon their method of preparation. Nanospheres are homogeneous solid entity consisting of polymeric matrix in which therapeutic moieties are either uniformly dissolved or dispersed, while nanocapsules are hollow core shell structures in which dissolved or dispersed therapeutic moieties into oily aqueous cores are encapsulated by polymeric membranes. Thus, on the basis of nature of core, nanocapsules are of two types: aqueous core and oily core nanocapsules. Let us now summarize what we have learned today. We have learned about what is a nanoparticle, their different definitions which are given by different agencies, their physical, their chemical properties, their different types, their classification, and how their properties can be modulated, and how you can change how it is affecting the distribution inside the body, how it can be used to target drug inside the body, and how it is being distributed with respect to its size, with respect to its shape, with respect to its charge. And we have also learned about various applications in the pharmaceutical field. It is a very promising area, and in the future in medicine, the future of medicine is nanoparticles, in nanotechnology as a drug delivery system. Thank you.